My coaching student Hish was a complete beginner when we got started working together last summer, and now he sold over $100,000 in a 30-day period in his Amazon business. So I think this interview is going to be really helpful for you guys in terms of breaking down how to grow your Amazon business fast and the right way. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Miles. I'm a 25-year-old seven-figure Amazon seller on a mission to help as many guys as possible build the side hustle or business of your dreams. And if you're interested in working directly with me to grow this the right way, I'm going to leave the application link down below for my coach program, and let's get right into the interview with Hish.
What's up, Hish? Thanks for coming on the channel, man. You obviously have very not typical results in terms of the success you've had the first 6 months and everything, but appreciate you joining me, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you were a complete beginner in July when we got started, right?
Yeah. I was very new.
Absolutely. And so tell everyone, just kind of who you are, your story, and then what you did in December.
Yeah. So I joined Miles's course back in July. Actually, previously to joining your course, probably like a lot of other people, I joined a Discord group. It was pretty pricey, man. I paid like $1,500 for that Discord
Ooh,
group.
okay.
Yeah, and it was like it wasn't even worth it because they kind of just like wanted your money, and it was like figure it out on your own, and it was kind of
Yeah,
depressing.
that's no fun.
And I almost quit. I'm gonna be honest. I'm like, well, that's
So many people are like that, bro, but you just
yeah.
keep going, and it's pretty easy, or pretty doable to figure it out over a year or over 8 months.
Yeah, of course, exactly. So that happened, and then I was like, all right, well, I mean, I know this, I know people are doing this, so I gotta just stick with it. So I went to the Nike outlet, you know, did the Miles is what Miles tells everybody to do: go to your local Nike outlet, and made some magic happen over there. I got my first sale within like the first like day. It was pretty
Dude,
crazy.
that was crazy. FBM too, right? So you got the
Yeah,
gold
it was
to get
unreal.
FBM sales
Yeah,
in
it was
July.
crazy because I didn't even know FBM like that. I just listed it, and it happened. So I was like, all right, this is pretty sick. And then Miles, he kept telling me to go back, and I kept replanning, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so after that, my first month of July, obviously nothing crazy. I probably did like $600 in sales, whatever. And then August was a little better. I think it was like 2K.
And you were really low on capital too, I remember, because you're
Super low.
19, right?
Yeah. I no credit, no
Yeah.
credit at all. Yeah, no credit. It was all like for my 9 to 5. I was stacking my money over there, and then pretty much I got blessed, and I had some pretty clutch family members that I asked for some loans, and they were willing to show me some love. So I was able to use some of that loan to obviously put some big numbers up in December, and now I'm just kind of focused on paying off as much as I can so that I can apply for those credits. And
Yeah,
hopefully,
and it's
yeah.
especially too, that's an issue I ran into when I was getting started. It wasn't that I was too young. You were like actually too young in certain cases, right? But I just didn't know how any of that stuff worked. And obviously using leverage adds risk, obviously, but it can be really helpful. And that's been something, I've used as well and everything. So talk about the current operation, right? I believe it's a spread of OA and RA, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's a spread of OA and RA right now. As you know, me and my boy Anthony we joined forces and touched hands, and we're gonna try and enter the wholesale world of things and
A lot of
try to
sense.
really scale that because as you know, January there's still a lot of RA opportunity, but why not kind of dive into a more, I guess, stable business model? Because don't get me wrong, RA and OA is can be super scalable. I mean, you've shown it yourself. And I don't know. Wholesale's always been like an aspiration of mine. So that's like the next big thing I would say.
Yeah, and the cool thing too is that you're in the Los Angeles area, right? So for those of you guys who are watching who are near major cities, you have a lot of good retail arbitrage, right? OA, outside of sales tax, it's a pretty even playing field countrywide, right? But if you're in a major city, you have a lot of advantage with retail arbitrage and advantage with wholesale stuff just because there's more distribution and just more business going on in your area, right? So that's why, like in remote areas, OA can make a little bit more sense, right? And you should do all of them if you're watching this too.
Yeah,
But if you live in like Los Angeles, New York, New Jersey, some of these more populated states, wholesale and R's got a ton of good opportunity as well. Such
100%.
like his percent, he literally got his first sale just in terms of like the first day of just getting stuff listed from the outlets too. And I know you have a big athletic background, right? So I'm sure that translates a little bit out. Garrett and I always talk about
Yeah,
that.
dude, 100%. Like as you know, like that Hooper mentality, like you just want to grind. So
Yeah, and teamwork, delayed
yeah,
gratification,
teamwork,
putting
delayed
in practice.
gratification, man.
Yeah.
That all like translates so beautifully into entrepreneurship. It's like amazing. So blessed to have that background, as a basketball player because had I not played basketball, I mean, I probably would have not stuck up as I am right now.
Yeah,
Stuck
and
with it.
determination. And
Yeah.
then it's cool too, in that like as you get older, for most people, they obviously can't play sports as much, but like business is such a good outlet to like let out aggression
Oh yeah, exactly.
because it's purely you eat what you kill, and sports is the exact same way. If you don't show up, you get nothing done, right?
Yeah,
And at the
exactly.
start, as an Amazon seller, it's very similar. Over time, you build systems, leverage, virtual assistants, and such, which can make a difference. And
Mhm.
and such and everything. Can you talk about some of the, like a big win you had, or like when you really knew this was possible? And I think I know what day it was, but
Yeah.
talk me through that.
Yeah. I sent you a screenshot that day. I sent Miles a screenshot. It was me hitting my first 10K day.
Yep, it was
Oh,
October, November, right?
it was November.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
November. Yeah. It was like it wasn't even December yet, so it was pretty crazy. So it was literally like I think it was early. I think it was like mid-November too. So pretty kind of random, I
Early,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty early. Well, yeah, early exactly. So I sent you that, and I was like, "Holy, this is crazy!" Like I would never. I like if you asked me a year ago, I'd make $10,000
Yeah,
sales on my
$1,000 profit in a day, or
yeah,
what? It's
$1,000.
probably a little
Yeah,
bit more than that. Yeah,
probably
exactly.
more because the margins I was getting, it was all RA. The margins I was going at was
Oh,
pretty
and
crazy.
RA has higher margins because there's lower
Yeah,
competition too. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, RA is really slept on. A lot of people sleep on that, to be honest with you. But
Oh, 1,000%. There's so much less competition. It's just like, and there's no fancy coupons like there is with It's literally just like, will you go scan stuff?
yeah,
You go get.
exactly. So yeah, I'd say that's probably the biggest milestone for sure. Biggest like holy crap, like this is crazy. You know?
Yeah, and you were at a very advantageous point where you got started right over the summer. So in the worst times of the year compared to Q4 and back to school and late summer and such. The nice thing is, if you're a beginner watching this video, you're probably watching this in Q1 or Q2. Now is the perfect time to get started, because right when you're starting to hit your stride and really starting to figure this stuff out, right, is going to be when back to school is hitting and the summer's popping off, and then eventually Q4. So you have a great opportunity to learn now when it's a little bit harder comparatively to other times of the year, and really get better over time too.
100%.
And such. And then, so another thing that you've utilized that I'm obviously so proud and impressed by, is exactly how I did it too, was the FBM side of things. So can you talk about, the process of scaling FBM, how you identify what might be an FBM friendly listing, and just
Yeah.
overall making that happen?
Yeah, so I really went with FBM because I didn't have a ton of capital to work with, right? So I really wanted to maximize that capital in terms of margin play, right? Because I don't want to just go in and buy a bunch of stuff at lower margins where I can literally go to my next door stores and max out and get some crazy like ROIs. So I went crazy with FBM. I want to say like 90% of Q4 was FBM. It
Oh,
was
gotta be. Yeah, and I love that, because it's so funny, bro. Because there's people that have been doing this for years that don't trust FBM, and all you young kids are just fucking railing it immediately
yeah,
right out the gate, like
exactly.
nothing held back.
Yeah, exactly. So did like 90% FBM. I was fortunate enough. My dad's actually a wholesaler himself, not Amazon, but he's in a different industry. So I was pretty lucked out to have access to a warehouse.
Oh,
So
cool. Well, you play the cards you're dealt, though, right?
exactly,
Exactly,
yeah,
man. Definitely.
exactly. So I was blessed with that, and pretty much I would just, like I said, go all in FBM. I was up late nights. I was starting to get some bags under my eyes in the past,
Oh, gotta be.
like
Yeah,
the first
come
few
on now.
weeks.
Come on now.
So yeah, it was a hell of a ride. I mean, I just if I can go back, there's a couple things I would fix for sure, but for the
What
most
what
part,
are what are some of those? I assume probably hiring help and
yes,
fulfilling orders. Yeah.
exactly leveraging help for sure. Because I was a one man show, at the end of the day, and it was a show at the same time. So I was hoping like next year for sure. I know I'm gonna definitely probably hire not probably I'm definitely gonna hire somebody because I plan on doubling or tripling what I'm doing this year. So for sure, I want to hire somebody, and from there I can just obviously focus my intention on better things to take care of, as in terms of buying and whatnot. So
Yeah.
for sure,
So
leveraging.
there's an important point to take out of that, right? So you did, like, it was like probably like less than $3,000 in sales your first 2 months, right?
Yeah,
A lot of
yeah,
people would have quit with that. But the key is that even if you're at a super small scale with Amazon, as you're learning, you're starting to see that doing 3 times or 5 times or 10 times more than you're doing now is possible, because there's other dudes on Twitter doing it. And if they can
yeah,
do it, so can I, right? And it's such a good mindset to get into, that growth mindset, knowing you're capable of more, because a lot of people will have a employee mindset. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they'll go do R and be like, damn, man, I can't see myself doing this for 20 more years, right? Because that's how they currently think about work. Meanwhile, you in your first 6 months have gone from making no money to clearing 5 figures in profit last month, and thinking, okay, next year I can do a lot more, but I might not have to work as hard because one, my skill will have compounded a lot more, and I'm going to be able to hire help to fulfill on some of the manpower, the fulfilling orders and stuff too, and everything. So another point you brought up a little bit earlier and that I talk about all the time is the social media, the community, the getting to know other sellers. So talk about how that's been helpful.
Yeah, that's been really clutch because at first I really wasn't on social media like that. As a hooper, I was always on Instagram looking at other highlights and stuff like that. So that's other than that social media aspect, I wasn't really a big like I
It's
guess.
such a weird, such a mindset shift though too.
Yeah, 100%, super big mindset. Like I kind of had to get uncomfortable with myself. I'm gonna be
Oh, of
honest.
course. Yeah. Well, to get anything done, you have to.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. So, yeah, I kind of just pushed that away, stopped being a little bee, and I just got on social media and started to network. And I was at first really heavy on Instagram, but like literally last month, I was like, I hit you up. I'm like, I'm gonna start being more active on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's awesome.
And Twitter's been, I don't know, like I kind of slowed down on Instagram and just really, really kind of go heavy on Twitter. I feel like there's a lot of interesting stuff on Twitter. A lot of interesting stuff goes down on Twitter. So I like to put a lot of my networking and really just connect with other sellers on Twitter because at the end of the day, like nobody wants to do this alone because doing it alone is not
So
just
much harder.
yeah,
You
so much
make
harder.
less money. You have to make more
Exactly.
mistakes. You have to find more opportunity, and it's a lot less fun too, which is the really important part I think too that makes it possible over time.
Yeah, exactly. So just pretty much doing this by yourself is like it can be done, but it's gonna take a lot longer and
Yeah, and be so
a lot
much
more stress.
fun, way less efficient, right? And then so like for example, what most beginner Amazon sellers, what they're doing is like, okay, I gotta go click buttons on the computer for 3 hours. What his situation looks like is okay. Let's see what my friend who lives in New Jersey is doing today, right? Or let's see this group chat that I'm in, right? And then because we're all solving these problems together, so much more gets done, and it's a lot more fun because you can do it with people you like, right? So it's essentially like designing your perfect set of coworkers essentially and such, and it's a
Yeah.
pretty neat thing to do and everything. So I know you were doing well with OA and R. I know you said you wanted to move into wholesale. What does that look like moving into 2024 here? Because the nice thing is that OA probably doesn't take as much time as it used to because your skill got a lot better, right? So what do you see kind of with wholesale? And what are you doing to get on that?
Yeah, so I definitely don't see it as an abrupt transition. That would
Oh,
make
definitely
yeah,
not, and it shouldn't
yeah,
be. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm for sure gonna keep hammering RA, for sure gonna keep hammering OA. But in terms of making that transition, as me and my friend Ant, we joined a course. So we're gonna really start dialing in and learning the ins and outs of wholesale as much as we possibly can. But in the meantime of doing that, we have our network. So it's not like we're gonna be like, okay, we gotta learn some wholesale and I'm gonna go spend 10 hours doing it right now. We're gonna learn some wholesale, but we're gonna go 30 minutes on Discord and see what all the leads that the boys posted and
yep.
buy those leads. And then obviously we're gonna return the favor by doing our due diligence and obviously coming back with our value. So
It's done. Yeah.
exactly. So pretty much, I would say just like still maintaining our sales with RA and OA, but slowly transitioning into wholesale as well. Maybe placing a couple POs here and there just to kind of get the feel of things and really understand how wholesale works. So I would say just like I said, a gradual, slow transition.
Yeah, and the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. Just like sports, just like with OA, and then over time, right, you become so much more effective. So you get a lot more out of the time you put into, and then over the long term, your life gets a lot better with this stuff too. So you're one of the types of people that makes this stuff really fun to do. So I appreciate all the good energy and all the engagement and such we've done as getting to know you the past 6 months. Where can people find you on social media?
Fulfilled by Hish on Instagram and then FBA Hish on Twitter.
Cool. Okay, so that'll be linked below. You make sure you go follow the man right now. And thanks for coming on, and thanks everyone for listening.
Cool. Appreciate you for having me.
Take it easy, guys.